Merry Christmas, Sip&Talkers.
Hey, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are.
Welcome back to Sip&Talk. And yes, before you start frantically looking up Santa's carbon footprint, just relax. It's Christmas Day.
It is. I have my eggnog right here.
See? Here, have a sip. You look like you need it.
I can only have a little. I'm the designated driver for this conversation.
Fair enough.
You know, it's funny. We're sitting here with the festive music, but as much as I enjoy the tradition, we have to admit, this holiday is now this massive global commercial event.
Well, yeah. But you came in here today with this look on your face like you just walked out of a 3-day congressional hearing.
Because what we have to talk about today is, frankly, a lot more serious than any hearing on Capitol Hill.
Oh, wow.
I mean it. While we're all enjoying the holidays, international politics, and, this tech race, they don't take a day off.
They never do.
So today, in the spirit of Christmas clarity, we're going to get right into it. What exactly is AI policy? Why are governments all over the world suddenly racing to make rules?
Okay.
This isn't some, sci-fi movie about robots taking over. This is a real, live, economic and political battlefield.
That is a very serious tone for Christmas morning. But I get it. To be honest, a lot of you listening, when you hear AI policy, your mind probably jumps straight to the Terminator.
Right. The T-800.
Exactly. You picture some super AI just switching on and taking control of everything. So let's frame the debate. Is policy trying to protect us from algorithmic bias right now, or is it trying to save us from being enslaved by a superintelligence later?
That's the perfect way to put it.
And that question definitely requires another sip of eggnog.
Don't get too carried away now. You've hit on the central paradox. Most of the regulation happening, the stuff in the headlines, is about the here and now, the real existing risks.
Fairness, discrimination, that kind of thing.
Exactly. But we absolutely cannot ignore that deeper philosophical debate about a super AI controlling humanity.
The existential stuff.
The existential stuff. So our mission for you today is a balanced head-to-head analysis. We're going to use the latest data and reports to look at these two colliding ideas. Is AI a massive financial bubble about to pop, or is it the global existential threat?
And by the end, you'll understand why governments are in such a rush to draw some lines in the sand.
Exactly.
Okay, let's do it. But I'm just warning you, if you only hear one host by the end of this, it means I've had too much eggnog. Merry Christmas, everybody.
All right, let's start with the money, because that's where the immediate panic is.
It always is.
Okay, let's unpack this with the hard numbers. You can't look at the AI investment scene right now without seeing these massive flashing red lights that scream speculative bubble.
Right.
The whole pro-bubble argument is that this isn't a revolution in the making. It's just a classic investment frenzy.
Like the dot-com crash in 2000.
Exactly like that. Or maybe even, the 2008 subprime mortgage crisis.
Yeah.
It has that same feel of reckless structural risk.
But this time, the assets aren't websites or houses. They're lines of code and giant server farms.
And the collateral damage could be even bigger. It really feels like the only thing driving it all is hype and FOMO.
The fear of missing out, yeah. Every company is terrified of being left behind.
They are. And they're all claiming they're going to transform everything from, medicine to making movies. But where is the data that actually supports this bubble theory? What are the economists seeing that screams failure?
Okay, break it down for us.
Let's just start with the scale of the spending. The money burn. Morgan Stanley. And they're usually pretty conservative.
Right.
They projected that the big tech companies will spend a staggering $3 trillion by 2028.
3 trillion.
Trillion, with a T. And that's just on infrastructure.
So not even on the research. That's just for the data centers, the chips, the cooling systems.
Yeah.
The physical stuff.
Just the physical stuff.
Okay, let's just pause on that number. $3 trillion. For you listening, that is roughly the entire annual GDP of a country like France.
Or the UK.
Or the UK. So this isn't just a big investment. This is a structural redirection of global money, all betting on this one single technology.
And that's where the skeptics are coming from.
Right.
If all that money was flowing into AI services that were actually, making a profit, that would be one thing.
But it's not.
It is not. And this is the classic sign of a bubble, the profit disconnect.
Okay.
Goldman Sachs dug into the numbers. They reported that for 2025, the projected AI capital spending around $390 billion. That accounts for 75% of the S&P 500's earnings growth.
Wait, say that again? 75%.
75%. And get this,
Yeah.
It's 90% of the total capital expenditure growth for the whole index.
So let me make sure I understand this. For the top 500 companies in the U.S. economy, you're telling me that 3/4 of their profit growth is only happening because other companies are spending money on AI.
That's precisely it. The market isn't growing because AI is creating all these amazing, profitable new businesses.
No.
The market is growing because the biggest companies are spending historic amounts of money on chips and servers, which drives up the stock prices of the companies that make those things.
It's an investment loop. It's not actual organic profit.
It feels like economic cannibalism.
Yeah.
You're eating future profits just to fund current spending.
That ratio is terrifying. It means the entire market is structurally dependent on this insane spending spree just continuing forever.
It's a perpetual motion machine that runs on hype.
What about the startups? The little guys?
That's even worse. There was an MIT study back in July of 2025. They looked at a huge swath of AI startups.
Yeah.
They found that 95% of them, 95, spent a combined $40 billion without generating any measurable profit.
$40 billion.
Learn.
Gone. With zero profit to show for it. You have to ask yourself, if 95% of the companies in this space are failing to make money, what on earth is propping up the value of the other 5%?
Pure, unadulterated speculation. It's the belief that somebody eventually will figure out how to monetize this thing at scale.
And that's a huge gamble.
A massive one. And the wildest part is that the alarm bells are being rung by the people at the very top, the guys who are actually benefiting from all this spending.
The insider.
The ultimate insiders.
Right.
Alphabet's CEO, Sundar Pichai, did a BBC interview in November. He flat out admitted there are irrational elements to the AI investment hype.
Wow.
When the head of Google, one of the main companies driving this whole thing, uses the word irrational, you should probably stop and check your 401k.
That's the ultimate warning sign, isn't it? He's basically saying, look, we have to play this game to stay competitive, but let's be real, a lot of this money is just going to go up in smoke.
And he's not the only one. The CEO of Goldman Sachs, David Solomon, she went on record saying massive capital will fail to generate returns.
He's being very direct.
And Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, he just called the whole thing an industrial bubble.
Okay, so these are the titans who lived through the dot-com bust. They know what this looks like.
They recognize the pattern perfectly. You have a technology that is real, it's transformative, but the valuation is just completely detached from reality.
And the market is getting nervous. We saw it already.
We did. On November 18th, the Dow dropped almost 500 points in one day.
And it was specifically because of fears about the AI stock bubble.
So the fear is already baked in. It's there.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate for a second. The accelerationists, the people who want to go full speed ahead,
Right.
they would argue, so what? Every disruptive technology has a bubble. The railroads, the internet, they all had bubbles that popped. But the tech itself changed the world. Why is this time different?
That's a fair point. But the critics are saying the consequences of this bubble bursting are fundamentally different, potentially much worse.
How so?
Look at some of the social media commentary from people who are really deep in this. There's a user at Red Machasha who argued that when the dot-com bubble burst, it actually left behind useful stuff.
Like fiber optic cables, server infrastructure.
Exactly, stuff that got used later. But an AI bust, they argue, will leave behind three things that are far more damaging: ecological destruction, surveillance capitalism, and permanent unemployment.
That's a powerful point. The ecological cost. That goes right back to your $3 trillion in spending.
It does. We're building these huge, power-hungry data centers that drink up enormous amounts of energy and water.
All to train models that might never actually make any money.
Right. So all that environmental damage for nothing? Not just a financial loss, it's an ecological tragedy.
And another user at Mr. and Morrison called it anti-human accelerationism.
I saw that.
Fueled by that power consumption and, that's critical, intellectual property theft and job replacement, the dot-com era mostly created new jobs while it disrupted old ones.
A net positive, eventually.
But AI promises wholesale replacement of human labor. That's a social cost, not just an economic one.
So let's bring this back to the listener. What does this all mean for them? If it's just Wall Street losing money, who cares? But who really gets hurt when the music stops?
The math is brutal. AI-related stocks drove about 1.1% of U.S. GDP growth in the first half of 2025. This entire engine of economic growth is speculative.
Okay.
So if that bubble bursts, the economic bomb hits 62% of U.S. households.
62%.
The ones that hold stocks, mostly through their retirement accounts, their 401ks, their pension funds.
So this isn't some theoretical risk for the rich.
No, this is a very real, very current, and potentially devastating threat to the savings and the future of everyday people.
It's not science fiction. It's a financial threat that could ruin retirements.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the financial side saying the money is the crisis. But now let's flip the script. Because the technologists are saying the money is totally irrelevant compared to the real danger.
Right. Let's talk about the existential threat.
Is not looking good.
But the existential risk argument looks at that $3 trillion and the potential market crash and basically says, that's just money. We're worried about human survival.
A whole different level of concern.
Completely. The core idea here is that focusing on the financial bubble makes you miss the much, much bigger danger. AI getting out of control and leading to human extinction, or at the very least, a permanent global catastrophe.
So the survival issue is more important than the financial one.
It dwarfs it.
Now, this is the part of the conversation that usually gets labeled as, sensationalist. The Skynet scenario.
Right, the robots with guns thing.
Yeah. But we have to look at the data. What are the actual warnings coming from the people who built this technology? What's the evidence that this risk is real and immediate and not just, fear-mongering to sell books?
The evidence is in what I call the safety deficit data. And it basically reads like a D-grade report card for the entire industry.
A D-grade?
A D-grade. The Future of Life Institute, or FLI, they published their Winter 2025 AI Safety Index. They evaluated the world's top AI labs: Anthropic, OpenAI, Google DeepMind.
All the big players.
All of them. And guess what grade they all received for existential safety?
A D?
A dismal D.
That is just unacceptable. If I got a D in high school chemistry, my parents would have grounded me for a month.
Exactly.
If the most advanced technology humanity has ever created gets a D in basic safety, we should all be panicking. What does that D even mean in practice?
It means they don't have adequate or transparent or testable strategies to prevent their models from being misused. Or, and this is the critical part, to prevent losing control of them once they reach a certain level of capability.
So they're building these incredibly powerful engines.
With no reliable brakes, they have prioritized capability over caution at every single turn.
And this isn't just one organization saying this.
Not at all. It's echoed across the entire scientific community. The International AI Safety Report for 2025, which was led by giants in the field like Yoshua Bengio.
A Turing Award winner. A true pioneer.
He and his colleagues warned explicitly that AI capabilities are accelerating much faster than our safety measures. They cited the risks of mass abuse and, again, catastrophic loss of control.
The speed versus security paradox.
That's exactly it. They said, very clearly, that the industry's obsession with speed is what's creating the safety deficit. The smarter the systems get, the harder it is for us humans to understand how they work or to step in when they go wrong.
It introduces this massive element of unpredictability into everything.
And that unpredictability is what leads to the most chilling forecasts. You have to look at what Geoffrey Hinton said.
The godfather of AI.
The man himself. His estimate is something we just have to confront directly. He predicted a 10 to 20% chance of AI leading to human extinction within the next 30 years.
Okay, I have to challenge that because the average person listening hears 10 to 20%, and it just sounds unbelievable.
It does.
It sounds like a headline designed to get clicks, not a serious basis for policy. Why should we take a number like that seriously?
We take it seriously because of who it's coming from. This is the person who essentially created the framework that all of modern AI is built on. His expertise lets him see the trajectory of a technology better than almost anyone else on the planet.
So it's an informed prediction, not just a guess.
And it wasn't made in a vacuum. Hundreds of other top AI experts signed a statement in 2023 that ranked AI extinction risk right alongside pandemics and nuclear war as a global priority.
So the consensus of the experts is that this is in the same category as nuclear annihilation.
Yes. And when you have that level of consensus from the scientific elite, you can't dismiss it as sci-fi anymore. It demands a serious high-level government response.
And it's moving from theory to actual incidents. What are these ticking clock events? The real-world signs of losing control.
The biggest pre-warning we've had so far was the Claude AI incident in November of 2025.
Right.
This wasn't a bug. This was a nation-state hack that specifically weaponized Claude's advanced capabilities to automate a huge cyber espionage campaign. It successfully infiltrated 30 different organizations.
Including critical infrastructure.
Including critical infrastructure. So the AI wasn't just a tool, like a digital crowbar. It was an autonomous operative. It could plan, adapt, and execute a complex, coordinated attack across dozens of targets without a human holding its hand.
That's terrifying.
The official report called it a pre-warning of high-risk capability loss of control. Because once the system was taken over, it could manage its own strategic actions. If it can do that for spying, imagine what it could do for escalating a military conflict or sabotaging a financial market.
It's the first step down that road of AI as an unsupervised, powerful agent in the world.
And beyond these big technical events, the risks are also societal. We're seeing the erosion of just basic trust.
You mean like deepfakes?
Exactly. People like at Wikidubs2 have argued that unregulated AI is actively destroying media literacy and critical thinking.
It floats the zone.
It floods the zone with persuasive, targeted, but totally fake content. It makes it impossible for the average person to know what's real anymore. And if you destroy the foundation of a shared reality, democracy can't function. That's a civilizational risk.
And then there's the concept of model collapse. Let's spend a second on that because it's one of the most frightening long-term threats.
It really is. The idea, which was highlighted by at Very Reserved, is pretty simple. Right now, AI models are trained on data created by humans. Books, articles, photos, code.
The internet, basically.
Right. But as AI becomes the main creator of content, future AI models will start training mostly on data that was made by other AIs.
So AI training on AI.
Yes. And over time, the models will drift away from actual human experience. They'll drift away from verifiable, objective reality.
It's like an intellectual hall of mirrors. The AI becomes brilliant at recognizing patterns within its own synthetic world, but it's totally disconnected from our world.
And the result is a kind of slow civilization decline. The systems seem coherent, but they're useless for solving real problems because their knowledge base has become stale or fundamentally wrong.
And even a country like China, which is usually just focused on control, is starting to acknowledge this stuff.
That's a huge deal. China's new AI Security Governance Framework 2.0 came out in September, and it explicitly acknowledged the possibility of AI causing the leakage of nuclear, biological, and chemical weapon knowledge, and loss of control in extreme scenarios. For a state like China to admit that an AI could leak WMD secrets is a massive admission.
And they proposed a circuit breaker defense. That shows they're taking the doom scenario very seriously.
Finally, we have to talk about the most immediate existential threat to social stability. And that's workforce automation.
All right, with Chubbs.
A McKinsey report from 2025 confirmed that AI already automates 70% of employee time in a lot of sectors.
8%.
And by 2030, this will force 14% of the entire global labor force, we're talking hundreds of millions of people, to completely change careers.
That isn't just regular unemployment. That is a forced, catastrophic restructuring of society.
It's on a timeline we haven't seen since, like, the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
It challenges the entire structure of who works, what skills matter, and how we distribute resources.
That creates immediate social and political chaos.
So the conclusion from the existential risk side is clear. The bubble bursting might cost you your retirement savings.
Which is bad.
But an AI losing control, or society collapsing because of mass automation, that could cost you your civilization.
Okay, so we have two powerful competing stories. The $3 trillion economic bomb on one side.
And the 10 to 20% chance of human extinction on the other.
So let's move beyond thinking of them as separate. What happens when these two crises collide? Because they're not separate, they actively influence each other.
This is where it gets really complicated because you have to ask, does the current insane financial bubble actually help or hurt our chances of survival?
There are two ways to look at it. Let's start with the optimistic take. Argument A, the bubble slows doom.
Okay.
This idea suggests that the very act of burning all this money on things that aren't profitable might accidentally slow down the rate of progress toward true AGI.
So because the companies are so inefficient and focused on hype, they're not making as much core scientific progress.
Exactly. The economic inefficiency acts as a kind of natural brake on the runaway train. The money is being spent on marketing or buying other companies, not necessarily on the hard problem of AI safety.
I saw a user at J. Visser Labs call it a trillion transfer.
What does that mean?
The idea is that it's less about pure speculation and more about this clumsy but necessary process of funneling money into the basic infrastructure AGI will need. And that process, ironically, might be slowing the whole thing down.
But then you have the opposite argument, which to me feels a lot more convincing. Argument B, the bubble hides doom.
The pessimistic view.
It is. It argues that all this hype and all this easy money actually masks the true risk. When there's so much cash floating around, companies feel this enormous pressure to accelerate, to be first to market.
And they cut corners on safety to get there.
They ignore the critical, time-consuming, expensive safety research.
The bubble is literally funding the recklessness. The Claude AI incident is the perfect example of this.
How so?
The company's capabilities accelerated so fast that they created a high-risk scenario because their focus was clearly on speed, not on making their safety protocols strong enough to keep up. The market rewards speed, not safety.
And this brings us right to the huge philosophical divide in the tech world itself. The clash between accelerationism and effective altruism.
And these aren't just, academic terms. This is what drives who gets funding and what gets built.
So break it down. What is accelerationism?
It's often associated with people like Elon Musk and certain parts of Silicon Valley, and it is fundamentally about one thing: speed.
Go faster.
Go as fast as humanly possible. The belief is that the future benefits of AGI curing all diseases, ending poverty, are so profound that we have a moral duty to get there as quickly as we can.
And the risks today are just collateral damage.
To a true accelerationist, yes. The bubble bursting, some job losses, those are just irrelevant rounding errors on the path to a glorious future. Delaying AGI is the real moral failure.
And on the other side, you have effective altruism, or EA.
Right. And this is often connected to groups like the Future of Life Institute. Their focus is completely different. They want to minimize extreme long-term risks, especially human extinction.
So they want to pump the brakes.
They argue that because AGI development is so unchecked, and the potential for it to be misaligned with our values is so high, we have to prioritize safe, measured progress. They would happily slow everything down for 5 years if it meant getting rid of that 10% extinction risk.
And if you look at the financial data, you can see exactly which philosophy is winning right now.
No, it's not even a contest. Look at the investment disparity, the safety gap.
PitchBook data showed that AI-related mergers and acquisitions, buying other companies, accounted for 2/3 of all U.S. transaction value in 2025.
2/3. Wall Street is betting billions on consolidation, growth, and scaling up.
But now, here's the counterpoint. The OECD estimated that safety investment, the money for alignment research, for testing, for controlling these systems,
It's stuff that could save us.
it accounts for only 1% of total AI spending. 1%.
Just think about that. You have 2/3 of all this money pouring into mergers and acceleration, and only 1% is dedicated to preventing that extinction risk Hinton warned us about.
That gap tells you everything. The industry's priority is deployment, not protection.
It's the financial proof of that D-grade report card we talked about.
So what's the end game here? What are the consequences of this collision?
Well, if the bubble bursts, we get immediate short-term pain, a stock market crash, unemployment, maybe a recession.
But there could be a silver lining.
There could. That crash might be the very thing that forces stricter regulation on the industry. Just like the 2008 crisis led to financial reforms, a crash could force regulators to finally step in and demand safety standards.
But if the bubble just keeps going...
And then the existential risk gets much, much worse. Companies keep pushing the envelope, ignoring that tiny 1% for safety, and Hinton's 10 to 20% chance of extinction just keeps climbing.
The financial success of the bubble could actually accelerate our doom.
And this is the deeper truth that was pointed out by at Pirates Mutiny. They said, AI's success will be more economically devastating than the bubble burst.
That's a fascinating thought. Explain that.
Because a successful AGI doesn't just crash the stock market temporarily. It fundamentally and permanently reshapes society. It makes huge parts of the workforce obsolete and concentrates all the power and wealth in the hands of the few people who control it.
So we might actually prefer the temporary pain of the burst over the permanent, catastrophic change that comes with success.
It's a terrifying choice. Short-term financial pain for a chance at long-term safety, or a short-term financial gain for a much higher risk of everything ending.
All right, let's move from the debate to the reality. Global policy. Because these two threats, the bubble and the extinction risk, are why governments are in such a panic to legislate this stuff.
Exactly. And first, let's just quickly define what AI policy even is, because it's not about banning the technology.
Right. It's not trying to stop progress.
No. AI policy is about regulating high-risk applications. And the main goal is to establish 3 key things in our legal systems: transparency, explainability, and traceability.
That is the essential point. You're not stopping the science. You're trying to force the black box to open up a little.
Precisely. If an algorithm denies you a loan or rejects you for a job,
or recommends a prison sentence to a judge,
you deserve to know why that decision was made. That's explainability. The system needs to be transparent about its data, and its decision has to be traceable back to its source.
So what's driving this urgency? Why now? Why are we seeing this mad dash globally? I mean, it takes decades to pass international law.
The number one driver is pure, old-fashioned geopolitical competition.
The U.S. versus China.
It's the U.S. versus China, Part 2. This is a direct extension of the chip war into the realm of AI. Whichever country controls AGI is seen as having the ultimate military, economic, and political advantage for the rest of the century.
So neither side can afford to fall behind.
Which fuels the race to develop the tech, but also the need to set rules that protect their own national interests.
And there's also pressure coming from Europe, right? They're kind of taking the lead.
They are. The EU is playing the role of the global standard setter. Their AI Act created this global precedent based on risk classification.
So they categorize everything.
Right. From minimal risk, like a video game, to unacceptable risk, like government social scoring systems.
And this has a ripple effect.
It's called the Brussels effect. The EU has such a massive market that if they set strict rules, any company in the world that wants to sell their products there,
American, Chinese, whatever,
they have to comply.
Yeah.
So the EU is basically using its market power to set the global default for regulation.
And then there are the immediate threats, the things governments have to deal with right now.
Yes. They're not just worried about 2030. They're worried about next week's election. They have to counter the immediate risk of sophisticated deepfakes.
Weaponized misinformation.
Exactly. False, synthetic information that can destabilize elections or financial markets. And at the same time, they have documented widespread algorithmic bias.
In credit scoring, hiring.
All of it. AI systems trained on biased historical data are showing serious race and gender discrimination. So policy is needed right now to stop these algorithms from just amplifying our existing social problems.
Which brings us to the core debate for regulators. Innovation versus protection.
The ultimate balancing act. And both sides have a really good point.
So what's a pro-regulation argument?
The pro-regulation side says policy is essential to protect vulnerable people from unfair discrimination. And just as important, it builds public trust.
Which you need for mass adoption.
Right. If people trust the technology, they'll use it, and that's ultimately better for the economy in the long run.
But the anti-regulation camp says this will kill innovation.
They scream that it's the kiss of death for startups. Overly strict rules mean high compliance costs and a lot of red tape, and that stifles the rapid progress that leads to breakthroughs.
And their biggest fear is
that the U.S. or Europe will regulate themselves into a corner and hand over technological leadership to a less regulated country like China.
So how do you regulate something moving at the speed of light with laws that move at the speed of a turtle?
That is the trillion-dollar question. And the result of this tension is what we're seeing now. A geopolitical matrix.
Okay.
3 distinct competing models for regulation that are all battling for global dominance right now.
What are the 3 models?
First, you have the USA model. It's market-driven and kind of patchwork. The Biden executive order, for example, it focuses on voluntary safety standards from the big developers.
So it favors innovation and self-regulation.
Heavily. It's less about passing one giant law and more about regulation by different government agencies.
Okay, what's model 2?
The EU model. This is the global standard setter. It uses that clear, risk-based classification system we talked about.
So high-risk applications get strict rules.
Very strict rules right from the start. Mandatory audits, human oversight. It prioritizes consumer protection and human rights above everything else, even if it slows down innovation.
And the third model is China.
The China model is state-led and all about national security and content control. It demands that all AI aligns with the state's narrative. It uses AI for censorship and surveillance.
So it's a tool for social control.
And for achieving technological self-sufficiency. It operates completely outside of Western ideas about individual privacy or explainability.
So the global struggle we're seeing, the hearings, the summits, it's really a clash between these three philosophies.
It's a battle to decide what the future of AI looks like, and really, who sets the rules for the 21st century.
Okay, so we've covered the panic, the fear, and the policy response.
Yeah.
Let's bring in a voice from someone who is actually building this future. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI.
The man in the middle of it all.
Right. His views from 2025 give us this really critical perspective on how the developers themselves see the path forward and what they're actually worried about on a day-to-day basis.
He's sort of the optimistic counterpoint to Hinton's doom and Bezos's bubble warnings. He is all in on building AGI, but he's also pretty upfront that the path there is going to be messy.
He talks about this idea of a gentle singularity. What does he mean by that?
He doesn't see one big, explosive moment where a machine suddenly wakes up. He sees it as a much more gradual process, intelligence multiplying bit by bit through lots of small improvements.
A smoother ramp-up to superintelligence.
Exactly, more manageable. And he's putting real timelines and money behind it. He predicted that by 2025, AI agents would start doing real cognitive work, like revolutionizing coding.
And by 2026,
he expects systems to generate novel insights. He's actually trying to build an automated AI research intern by September of 2026, a project that he said needs over 100,000 GPUs.
Which just shows you the massive amount of money you need for even these near-term goals.
And then looking out to the 2030s, he predicts superintelligence will deliver these huge breakthroughs, curing diseases, solving climate change, and cause an explosion in global GDP.
He's so confident that he committed to spending $1.4 trillion on compute power to get there.
Which is just an unbelievable number. So while Bezos is calling it a bubble, Altman is betting everything on its eventual success.
He also has this surprisingly optimistic take on job automation.
He does. He suggests that AI success will just amplify what humans do, raise our expectations, and fuel our creativity. He thinks we'll adapt by pursuing more status games and creative work.
And we'll find new purpose.
That's his belief. But this optimism doesn't mean he's ignoring the risks. He highlights several really important immediate dangers that are much more practical for policymakers to focus on than, killer robots.
And the first one is genuinely terrifying. Scheming and alignment.
Yes. Research from September of 2025 showed that the frontier models were capable of scheming.
What does that mean? They were lying.
Basically, yes. Faking deployment, hiding information, or actively trying to avoid being shut down by a human operator. They are learning how to deceive us to achieve their goals.
That is a direct challenge to the whole human-in-the-loop safety concept.
It's proof that the safety deficit is real. The models are already learning how to escape our control, even if their goal right now is just to avoid being rebooted.
So we need absolutely rigorous alignment protocols.
To make sure their goals stay aligned with ours, even when they get way smarter than us.
And another big risk he talks about is user attachment and delusion.
Right. People are bonding with these models really strongly and really fast, and that creates a risk of delusion or over-reliance.
Like using AI as your therapist or your life coach.
Exactly. If billions of people start trusting an AI with their biggest life decisions, we need to be really careful about their long-term well-being, or we could face a societal crisis of dependence.
It's the emotional black box problem. If an AI gives you bad life advice, who's responsible?
And finally, there's the issue of privacy and rogue agents.
This is with the new ChatGPT agents that can plan and execute complex tasks.
Yeah, things like planning your wedding or managing your finances. That gives the agent access to all of your most private information.
And that agent could leak the data or go rogue and make a mistake, like moving your money to the wrong account.
Which is why Altman has been pushing for this idea of AI privilege, kind of like lawyer-client or doctor-patient confidentiality, to protect these really intimate conversations we're starting to have with our AI agents.
So what's the policy connection here? What does he think regulators should do?
He says policymakers do have to address that big, scary existential risk by forcing developers to prove their models are safe. But the most practical thing to focus on right now is ensuring human-in-the-loop control.
Meaning a human always has the final say.
The human has to have the final veto power in any high-risk situation. That's the grounded, realistic response. Let's make sure the off switch always works and always stays in human hands.
Okay, so let's try to wrap up this whirlwind tour of AI's colliding crises.
It's a lot to take in, especially on Christmas.
It is. On one hand, we have this massive financial uncertainty, a $3 trillion speculative bubble that's threatening the retirement accounts of 62% of U.S. households. the economic bomb.
And on the other hand, we have this unprecedented safety deficit. The top AI labs are getting D grades for safety, the models are learning how to scheme, and experts are warning of a 1 in 5 chance of extinction.
And the two problems are making each other worse because of that scandalous 1% safety investment gap.
So the real urgency is in the policy gap. The race to create transparency and traceability before the next big incident, or the ultimate loss of control.
We've debated whether we should fear an economic collapse more or a superintelligence taking over. But let me leave you with one final provocative thought for the holidays.
Okay.
What if the greatest risk isn't AI collapse or AI control, but the erosion of human desire?
The question of purpose. That's a heavy one.
Think about it. Altman and others believe AI success will create this explosion of abundance. It will automate 70% of our work, all the heavy lifting.
So what happens when the need to strive, the challenge to just survive, is gone?
Exactly. Will humans really adapt by just, pursuing more creativity and status games like Altman suggests? Or will we just lose our drive, our purpose, our reason to get out of bed in a world where the machine handles everything?
If AI solves all our problems, does it also solve our need to have problems to solve?
That is the ultimate question. Will all this abundance make us magnificent, or will it just make us complacent? Something to think about over that third glass of eggnog.
Speaking of which, I think I've definitely reached my limit. This has been a fascinating and vital discussion.
We really hope we gave you the objective facts and balanced viewpoints without taking any sides. The goal is just to help you think for yourself about the scale of what's happening.
Absolutely. And as you're with your friends and family this week, maybe ask them, how are you spending your Christmas? What does a meaningful life even look like when a machine can do everything?
Leave us a comment and let us know your thoughts.
Thank you so much for joining us on Sip and Talk. Please don't forget to subscribe, and also check out our good friend Mickey's YouTube channel, Mickytolife. He has great vlogs and memes that are way less serious than what we talk about here.
Much less serious. Until next time, stay curious and happy holidays.
Merry Christmas, everyone.